right, Melly Mel.
Man, you know the vibe. Professor Melly Mel, the Hood Postman. For those who don't know me, content creator, influencer, thought leader. How you doing today, Cam?
Man, I'm pretty good. Having a
Really?
pretty good day.
Man, this has been a long time coming, man.
It has. It has. I've heard lots about you.
Good or bad?
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good,
Okay.
man.
Okay.
If it was bad, we wouldn't be here.
You must got some good resources, bro. Half the people like me, half the people don't. But who cares, right?
Hey, that's what it is, man. What do they say,
That's what
man?
it comes down to, man.
If you haven't offended some people, you're probably not doing too good.
You're probably not doing too good.
But I'm glad to have you, man. So we'll get into getting to know you a little bit better.
Okay.
And get to know everything about you for the people who might not know. Where'd you grow up at?
I grew up in Compton, born and raised.
What was your era of growing up in Compton?
Well, I was born in 1959, so 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, all the way through.
So you've seen like the whole transformation of Compton from like before gangs, before
Absolutely.
anything happened to like what it turned out to be?
Absolutely. I remember when the swamps was literally the swamps. There were swamps over there, crawdad holes, catfish. Off of Greenleaf, there were. We used to run the Greyhound out there for a rabbit. We was go rabbit hunting off of Greenleaf, and also there was some more like crawdad holes and fish ponds over that way as well. So we used to go to Dominguez Hills, which was right there. Riding the dirt bikes, mini bikes, or whatever, what have you. So all that was a part of that Compton.
Now, with areas that you're talking about, did they build houses in those areas or?
Well, yes. There's houses there. All the Dominguez Hills. Dominguez Hills is no longer Dominguez Hills. So yeah, there's definitely houses. And the area where the water was along Alameda, all that's dried up, and all the water as well over in the swamps, dry, all gone.
Oh, okay. How'd the swamps dry up? Was just natural or?
Natural probably, and then probably due to the building and people moving in, and you know what I mean. It just sometimes things just happens.
And what was the environment like?
The environment was middle class. People was getting away. They was finding their way because at a time you couldn't even move. West Compton, black people were already there, but East Compton was. You had the Jewish community over there, and of course white people, and maybe a few. At that time, they was calling themselves Chicanos. So you got the timelines have to fit, right? They were calling themselves Chicanos.
Okay, I think that's what they still call themselves.
Yeah, but back then they said it. You didn't hear the word Hispanic.
Oh, okay.
You did not hear that word. You heard Chicano.
Was this around when George Bush lived there?
No. George Bush had been long gone, bro.
Okay.
So right there where he lived was the post office, and it was called the Santa Fe Garden, which is on the outside of what we know as Santana Block.
Okay, so he lived where they're at, or did he live somewhere outside of their hood, or?
No, okay, if you go up Santa Fe, where Santana Block, where everybody used to congregate and meet, there was another set of apartments that was like, I don't remember how many rows of it, but they were called the Santa Fe Gardens. And later on, they took on the name Santa Fe Mafia.
Oh, okay. And he lived in those apartments?
For what I understand.
Okay.
For what I understand.
Do you know how long he lived there? It's kind of crazy that
I don't know how long, but this is like way before my time, bro.
So this is maybe the 50s?
Before then.
Really?
Yes.
That early?
Yeah,
oh,
yes.
okay. So are we talking about senior or junior?
I believe it was the father.
The father.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. So
I'm not don't whoop me on this, but I'm not too sure about. I know it wasn't Junior. It could have even been Prescott Bush.
Oh.
So
okay.
there's Prescott Bush, then George Jr.
That's kind of crazy to think about, though. An ex-president actually.
Yeah.
Lived. I think it was the day. You know what? Let me look this up, man.
That's the best way to do it. Google is your best friend, bro.
There it is. Former President George H.W. Bush.
Herschel. What is George Walker Bush, right? Well, there was Prescott Bush and George Walker Bush, which is the dad of George Jr. Prescott Bush was George Sr.'s.
Oh, it says for about 6 months
Okay.
in 1949 and 1950.
See, there you go.
There it is. That's kind of crazy to think about.
It is.
Did you move to Compton or did you live in Compton from
I was
birth?
born and raised.
Okay. So your
Yeah.
family lived there
Yes.
when you were born. Okay.
Yes. We actually grew, I lived on Aprilla at the time, which is on the backside of Enterprise Junior High, middle school, what people like to refer to. Yeah, at the back gate, the first house is where the first house I can remember.
Okay, so you were about like 10 when I believe the first gangs came around 69?
69, yeah, well, you gotta believe that. 69, we can't really put that, we could say that was the creation of it, but that wasn't the, when everybody came to it.
Okay.
So the migration of gangs, I would say, would be more or less a 70, 71, 72. That's when, boom, 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 things, neighborhood after neighborhood, community after community start choosing up and deciding which way they were going to go. But at that time, you got to understand, there was no Bloods. There was just Crips, and then there was the Brims, and then you had later on, the Bishops came along, of course, and then Bounty Hunters came along, and then, of course, Pyrus came along, because Pyrus was actually an answer to what, if you weren't a Crip, then you probably became a Pyru based on, I don't like them, you know what I mean? So a lot of people use this term, anti-Crip.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I see.
Mm-hmm.
When things started to change, what was that like?
Well, when things started to change, there was a lot of pushing and shoving, and a lot of people trying to figure out what would they be there, which way would they flow. A lot of times, what you got to understand, Cam, where it really popped at is when everybody got to like the middle school. The middle school is like more or less when you start gaining the impression, you become impressionable. You're looking for something to identify, something to place in your life that you can be a part of. Whether it's Boy Scouts, Cub Scouts, and Team Post and all that. So being that all those programs were being like eradicated out of our communities, so a lot of kids was moving towards maybe not necessarily on their own accord, but maybe because that's what was available. So I would like to say that it was a more like, we started out at a deficit. When I say deficit, is that, did we really pick that for us? You know what I'm saying? Because I didn't grow up saying I want to be a Crip. When I was born, I always said I want to be a fireman, or I want to be in the Army, or, I'm just giving, hypotheticals, right? So who grew up saying they want to be a Crip or a Pyru or a gang member? Nobody did that. But being that we are people as people of habit, and we tend to gradually go towards things that's available, or we see everybody doing something, but that don't make it correct. So we find ourselves in this circle of life, and we kind of deal with that. So when I say deficit, the deficit is that degradation, self-hate, and destruction came with that. So when you look at those three aspects, you got to understand that you'll take what we did in our 20s, and we wind up doing in our 40s. In other words, when I say deficit, right, what we should have had in our 20s as far as finances, homes, and everything else, we wasted our time doing something that was not conducive to a great outcome. And then later on, we figured it out. Now you got guys at 40, 50s figuring out stuff they should have figured out in their 20s. But because they got distracted, and that became the focus, never should a distraction become your focus. Your focus should be about growing, elevating, and moving forward based on how the society in itself is moving, right? But being that we deprived of certain resources, and we deprived of the programs, because you got to understand that our communities lost. I remember when I was growing up, right? I played Little League baseball. Went away. Where did it go? Who took it? Who removed it? Pop Warner went away. You understand? Then it became hard to find those programs, so you had to go outside your community. And then when, I guess as time went on and evolved, you got people that like Snoop Dogg, who made a great for himself in the rapper career, was able to bring back those leads and bring back those programs. There was other black actors and black people that had money that was able to come back and bring those programs. But initially, they was taken away. I remember when Hubie Brooks.
Why did they get taken away? Did they get taken away just because people didn't want to be in Compton no more, or was it?
No.
Did the gangs affect them being taken away?
Systemic. I think it was all plotted out some kind of way, because if you still got those programs outside our community, why they're not here?
Right.
You got to ask yourself that. We got most of the talent that you see on the football, basketball, baseball, being that they took those programs, so now you don't see as many young black kids playing baseball. Like during my time, that's all we did. That's why you got a Hubie Brooks, a Kenny Landreau, or the O'Bannons, or Lorenzo and Wayne Romar, and Eddie Irvine, and those different people, or Strawberry, or what's the guy? Kenny Smith, Lonnie Smith. So those guys that came out of those areas went on to become pros. But then all of a sudden, what happened to it? See?
Okay, so a lot of things start to be coming to take out of Compton. And this is where I want to take the early 70s, I'm guessing?
Yes, it would be the 70s.
Okay. And at what point did you get involved, mixed up in the streets?
Well, I was playing Little League Baseball in the park, which was known as Oaks Park. And by this time, Factor Brookins, which is where Tookie and my homeboy Donald Duck Norwood and Chester Norwood, Chester was Hercules, they were part of Factor Brookins out in Bandy, California, which was a Bob Simmons kind of home where he took in young kids that was, on the bad path, and he tried to make an adjustment with them. So it was called Factor Brookins out in Bannon. They got kicked out of Bannon and they wound up on Santa Fe and Pine in 72. And at that point, we're all just little kids. I mean, because I'm 13 by this time, playing Little League Baseball in the park. So I see a group of young men gathering in the park. The first time I ever laid eyes on Tookie, just big old huge figure, with the one strap, the overalls. He got all this baby oil, I can imagine that's what it was. He got the earring hanging. Then all these other guys, they got like what we refer to as ace deuces with the matches coming around. And then you would see guys with the canes, they was walking the canes and suspenders. This was like the uniform, and they would have the Levi's, So, and the croaker sacks on and the bomber jackets. So that was pretty much the uniform, you know what I mean? And then they had this look about them, you know what I mean? All of them carried that same, like they would have their hands up, you know what I mean? And top button, you know what I mean? So it was like a real uniform type thing, So it became interesting. Wanted to know, what is this? Why are they doing that? Who are they? I know these guys, but who are them other guys with these guys? So as time went on, you start moving closer and closer, see if you can get a peek or an idea of what's going on or what's being said, because they're in a big group. Then you see guys going down the line, or guys, testing their hands, and see, you start seeing all this type of movement. Never seen that before, you know what I mean? What's that about? So that was the sort of say the initiation, or the guys that haven't accepted Crip, or they became part of that process of being, seeing if they were, I guess, more or less worthy of being in that circle.
So you were really influenced by Tookie when you seen him and everything.
Oh yeah, because when you understood who he was as an individual, everybody wanted to be big and strong. You know what I mean? Everybody wanted muscles. Growing up, that's just kind of what we do, as kids, because you figure that's going to make you more athletic, that's going to make you more stronger, that's going to give you the ability to do anything you want to do, and not only do that, be able to defend yourself. If you walking around with all these muscles and stuff, at looking at an individual, you think like, wow, is this the real Hercules? Is this the real Samson? You know what I mean? Because they have that look, because you've seen it on television. Television is the first part of the indoctrination, and then what's going on outside in the environment is the second part, and then the third part is the school, the educational system, you know, education system, the school, and then what's going on in the environment. So those three things played an important part of that.
And how did you actually make it over to that circle?
Well, when like other friends, like I had my homie, let's see, Midnight, Bruce, Tiger, Boo Boo, Yogi, Baby Crip, Baby Charles, Crip Doctor, Anthony Maddox, T-Bone, Donald Guy, Killer Raider. You know, so if them your friends and they all seem to be just as interested as you are, so you go as that group, you know, now you want to emulate what you're seeing. You want to be a part of it. So now you go by the Levi's, you buy the Crocus Sacks. Now you want to have that look. So when you have that look, that's the indication that the bigger guys that's watching, hey, they want to be a part of this too. Come on over here, you know. Let us show you a couple of things. What y'all doing? Why y'all look like that? Or, you know, they might start chastising you, push you around a little bit, see, you know, how you react to it.
As you're growing up, you know, what are some other things that you're going through? How's school and everything for you?
School for me was great because I was actually smart. Believe it or not, I was smart. And I actually graduated with honors and everything. And but the thing about school is that was the first time I realized that I had been singled out or targeted based on I rode the bus and I didn't walk to school with these group of kids. So now they're looking at it as difference, right? Difference don't mean deficient. It just makes it different, right? It's not less than. It's just you guys walk to school, I arrive on the bus. So now they get to look at me and say, hey, you ride the bus. You must be one of those guys over there. You know what I mean? So you hear enough of that, and then finally you get to the point where, yeah, I am one of those guys. Yeah, what you gonna do about it? You know, that's because you get so much of that pressure busted pipe, right? Eventually you know what I mean? We like to all think that we can intellectually respond before we emotionally react, but too often during those times, during the adolescence in the growth period, you know, when you're trying to be impressionable or you looking for things to compare your life to, you know, so you react based on what you think you should do, not necessarily what you should do.
High school. What was high school like for you?
High school was the same, pretty much the same. It's just a little more pressure, a little more intense. Now you up there with...
Were you mixed up in the streets in high school by that time?
Yes.
I know today, you know, there's blood and Crips schools in Compton. Was it like that in your day, or at what point did things get like that?
Well, initially, Dominguez was pretty much a Pyru school, but there were... when I got there, I didn't realize that all of Alondra was pretty much Crippin' by this time, because prior it had been where you know as Atlantic Drive, you know as Pennis, and you know as what it was south side of Compton. A lot of those guys were either U.S. Pennis family, or they was part of the pirate. But then you had Burris Lane, which was initiated by a guy by the name of Gangster Ben, which is part of the South. He created Burris Lane Crips, right? And then you had some other guys that were sprinkled in there, and like the Atlantic Drives became, you know, they was never Pyrus, but I'm thinking some people in Kelly Park area, not Kelly Park per se, but lived in that area were part of it. So the U.S. was like the U and the Ru, if you understand that. Instead of saying U.S. and Pyru, they would say U and Ru.
Okay.
So, but understand this, though. Pyru and U.S. are the two original gangs, the only two original gangs from Compton. Crips came from L.A.
Okay, and the Pyrus started
in Compton.
in Compton. Okay. Okay, so you're growing up and you're seeing these changes in the community. You know, what is your family life like at the time?
My family life is great. I have two parents. My mother worked at an electronic place. My father worked at Alco Aluminum. He was a foreman over there. My father was a career military man. He had a disciplinary. He actually worked with us on football and baseball and had us doing calisthenics. That's the first time I heard that word was from him, calisthenics. He didn't call it exercise. We're going to do some calisthenics. Oh, okay, so he was pretty much, there, whatever we needed. He even took us fishing. We would go fishing, we would go camping, we would go hunting. Part of that, my grandparents had a whole ranch up in Bakersfield. We would go there. They had pigs, hogs, chicken, turkeys, cow, horses. So I had a pretty good upbringing.
Okay, and now you're in high school and you're mixed up in the streets. What's going on every day going to high school?
Going to high school is like you living a double life. You coming home, you one way, but when you leave out the door, you're a whole nother way.
Right, because your family is, from what I understand, from what you're telling me, they're not involved in any way, shape, or form in the streets or anything.
My father even said one day, he saw me with a blue rag. He said, "Boy, what's that in your back pocket?" I grabbed it and kind of tucked it in. I said, "Nothing." He said, No, I seen that. He said, "That's what them boys be wearing." He said, "Son, let me come here. Let me tell you something." He said, "If that's what you're going to be, why are you telling the world that's what you?" He said, "Don't you think it would be better if they didn't know you was that? And then if somebody approach you on it, you'll have the element of surprise to reveal that's what you are." You know what I'm saying? In other words, if you like boasting it and put it on display for everybody to see, then everybody know that's what you are. You understand? And they can come at you in many various ways because you telling the world, "Hey, look at me. I'm a Crip. Hey, look at me. I'm a Pyru." So the lone wolf will always die in the winter, but the team will survive all 4 seasons. But you got to know how to play team ball, because team ball means you got a first base, you got a second base, you got a shortstop, you got a third base. Can a third baseman play second base? No, not really. He may be able to cover it, but you want a natural second base. So what I'm trying to explain to you, everybody got to know their position. And whatever your position is, play that. Don't go above your limitations, because your limitations is what often gets you, whatever happens after then.
Okay, so your family, then they're not approving of this lifestyle.
No.
At all.
No.
And do you end up going to jail at some point?
First time I went to jail was in 1989.
Oh, okay. Wow, okay. 1989.
Yeah.
Okay.
Prior to then, I went to jail on little minimum things. Like I wound up at 4800 because I went there because I had like a bunch of warrants or whatever that I need to clear up. So I wound up at 4800. Gangster and Marcellus was in there. You know what I mean? You probably heard of them. So that's my homeboys. And
what was it like in there?
4800?
Yeah. Gang module, right?
4800. What was it like? It was an intelligence gathering campaign. And the reason why I say that,
is there nothing but gangsters in this module?
That's it. If you wasn't about that life, or you wasn't part of that system, or you wasn't connected to somebody, or you wasn't recognized by your peers or your homies as being, quote unquote, a Crip, you didn't go there. If you did, then whatever came of it, was totally on you, because you put yourself in a circumstance that you didn't have no business trying to interject yourself in, because you didn't fit, you didn't belong. So what they would do
Bloods
often,
and Crips mixed together?
No. What they would do, they would bring you in, like me and a guy named, I think his name is Tiptoe or Tip Top from Venice Shoreline. We went in together, and they brought us in, and they set us down. It was like a little room. It was like an interview room or something, you know what I mean? If I remember correctly. I think it was a Deputy Lathan, something like that, that was there, and I don't remember all the other ones. But anyway, then people would come out and look, and then they just tell you, come on home, you know. Come on home. Come on home was like, you at home, you right here. Here's your homies, they on this road, you got this here, you know. So, you know, it would work itself out if you really belonged there. But if you didn't, then all bets was off. I don't know what would happen to you. I just know it wouldn't be nice.
How many people were in the gang module? And you're so did they have just two, or did they have like?
They had two. They had the blood module, and they also had the Crip module. So they put all the pirates, bounty hunters, swans, outlaws, brims, bishops. They put them all in whatever their module was, and then they put all the East Coast Comptons, Hoovers, of course the 60s, and anybody else in the Crip module. And a lot of times in all the Grape Street, Watts guys, everybody, a lot of times things would be determined based on who was the deepest, how many hand guards you had in there on your side, you know what I mean? So there was times where, you know, everybody, I guess everybody got a turn, you know.
I seen somewhere you were locked up with Tookie, or you ran into him at one point?
Oh yeah, well Tookie used to take us all. We used to be in the Oaks Park, and this one particular day he wanted to stroll up to what at this time was called Market Basket. It was no boys market. It was Market Basket. Tom McKinn, Gallon Camp, Savons, Sears and Roebuck, Daniel's Jewelry, and a couple other stores. We would go up there and we'd go in the grocery store. We go in one door and we would go in there, and in my mind, I'm thinking we getting some because we're gonna go back up to the park. We already got the snack bar open with a grill. We're gonna go back there and cook some burgers, hot dogs, whatever. Tookie, we walking around, we picking up mustard, mayonnaise, pickle relish, burgers, and all this different food, right? Chips and whatever. So we would get up to the register and we put everything right there, and Tookie just looked at the cashier. Of course, he stand up, he's this big old figure, bigger than life itself. Cashier just like, didn't want no parts of it.
You guys just walked out with everything?
Just walked out with everything. Went out the back door. We come up past, we go to Tom McCann, knock a couple of shoes, boxes of shoes on the Gallatamp, do the same. We called them all the way around. We come through Savons, was the back door. So as we coming through, this had to be around about, I believe 74, 75, right around when they start wearing the red rag. And I don't remember which year, don't hold me to that. So there was this lady in there and a couple other people and a guy. So the lady happened to have a red bandana. And I went up to her, being my disrespectful self, and I pulled it off her head and threw it on the ground. Tookie comes over, look at me and tell me, pick that up. I picked it up. He said, now go apologize. See, we had integrity back then. We had principles. There was things, if you did something out of pocket, you was checked. Not tomorrow, not a week later, you was checked on the spot. And he checked me. What people will refer as a DP, a discipline, but not a physical discipline, but he explained to me what I did wrong, and he explained to me why I shouldn't have done it, and then he explained to me why I should never do it again. And I gave it back, I apologized to the lady. I felt really bad about it after I realized I had done something wrong, because you don't know what's gonna happen. This is Tookie, I got my homie Guy Walker though said, man, Tookie slapped him one day, and Kevin Mack asked him, what you do about it? He said, I didn't do nothing. So that was one of them times, you know what I mean? But yeah, Tookie, Matter of fact, shout out to Kev Mack. Shout out to,
Shout out to Kevin Mack, man. He does some really good work.
Man, way I got onto this was through Kev Mack. So if you look at the timeline, there's Alex Alonso, Kev Mack. But how I got in it was through Kev Mack. And I think he does a really wonderful job. And, he brought me in and I learned what to do.
Yeah,
and then at the same time, I really enjoy it because when I was younger, I would be in LA, whether I be over in the Villains or downtown, anywhere, or in the Pebbles, I would always read the graffiti. The graffiti would let me know where I was at. Okay, that's it. Oh, that's them Villains. Because the Villains had some of the best graffiti there was during that time in the 70s. Oh, they can hit up the Hoovers. They was really good graffiti artists, down by the Liso Village, First Street. They were good down there. The Peblos, I named them. Yeah, so it was really, the graffiti would let you know at all times where you was at during the 70s. It would be hard for you unless you didn't really understand how things was coming together and how people were moving at the time. All you had to do was read the graffiti, and then let you exactly know where you was at, because there was always an abundance of graffiti all on the walls, all on the sidewalk, just everywhere, to let you know, hey, you in Bounty Hunters, are you in the Villains, are you in the Grandies all the way up and down the building, the Boot Hill all the way across up and down, Those are two known. Grandy's was a stronghold for all Compton Crips.
Graffiti's not that big nowadays.
No.
As it was back in the 70s, 80s,
very,
and 90s.
Very, very vital in the 70s because everybody want you to know where you was at. They wanted you to know. So you wouldn't make you had no excuse. You didn't know, well, it's right there. You're looking at it. All through the 20s, all through the bottoms, graffiti just everywhere.
Oh, was that your only interaction with Tookie, or do you have any other stories you could share with him?
Plenty Tookie stories, but some of them I'm saving, but I'm gonna give you a couple of more. There was an incident where my homie Chili Pimp that got into it with the Monas, and there was a guy over there that was everybody looked at him as a bully. He was a bully. His name was Alvin Whiteside, and had a brother named Dinosaur. And Alvin he had a thing for just picking on the baby Crips, the younger Crips. And he got into it with Chili. Chili Pimp actually came from Chicago. He was a Blackstone Ranger. And he would wear the big old black fedoras with the maxi leather coat with the belt tied. And he had what you call he liked to call a baby cannon, was really a sawed-off shotgun to this lowest degree. You couldn't get it no more sawed off than the way he liked to carry him. But anyway, he got into it with Alvin, and they went over there because Chili couldn't fight. But so Alvin went after Chili, and Chili was scared or whatever. But anyway, my homie Snake and a few other, Robert Thomas, Gary Miller, Doug, and all them, Roy Scott, all them got involved. But anyway, so Alvin come back through. Now he see us, like baby Crips, right? Picking on us. So about no sooner have he pulled off, Tookie pulls up. So once Tookie pulled up, we gave him an earful and told him, exactly what was going on. And Tookie was very protective of us. He would most days come through the neighborhood and check on us and make sure, to see what we was up to, what we was doing, how we was moving, And he did that quite frequently. And this particular time when he did it, he became aware of Alvin. And I think at that time, Tookie had already knew about Alvin, and I think he was pretty much fed up with him. So when Tookie caught up with him, he grabbed him, lifted him, and, slapped him. Tookie was notorious for slapping people. I don't know what that was about.
How big was Tookie?
About 24-inch biceps. He wasn't tall, but he was just wide and just muscles just popping from everywhere.
Like about 6 foot?
No.
No, not even 6
No,
foot.
it wasn't 6 foot. I would say about 5'9", 5'10", somewhere in there.
No way.
Maybe even shorter. Now he hit about 5'9", 5'11", somewhere in there. Yeah.
Okay.
But he wasn't 6 foot.
And so he was kind of like your mentor then in the streets?
I wouldn't say a mentor. It was somebody we looked up to.
Okay.
I would say we looked up to him, and we knew. You know how when some people come around, they don't have to tell you they in charge?
Yeah.
That's him. You can look at him and know that he's in charge.
Was there any other lessons that he gave you growing up?
Always talking about, I guess, proper cripping. Always talking about that because we would sit in the park and, during the summer because we would go to the Red House where they all lived for free lunch programs and all that. But he was always talking, you know what I mean? And he was always saying something, corrected something, And a lot of people just respected him, you know what I mean? And I think, for the most part, he got really comfortable with being in Compton. He got so comfortable, he rarely even went to LA at some point, It's like being in Compton.
So was Tookie the one that like kind of laid the blueprint for cripping out?
No, I wouldn't say that. I would think that he was the poster child. He was the one when you seen him, that's what you wanted to be. Barefoot Pookie carried it from Gardenia to Long Beach. He responsible for putting all them what they call the Harlem Godfathers with it. Barefoot Pookie was more of an ambassador. Raymond was noted as the person that started it. But Raymond had a lot of love in Compton too. He spent a lot of time over in the Grandies and they all spent time with his known Carver Park, which is where Bryce's from, the Cher Capri apartments right there. So they all, whether it's Pookie, Marcellus Robinson, Fred Winfred, Bill Dog Bruno, and I'm just naming Felton, Willie Hurd, Glue Baby, Roy Tucker, Zane, and then you got all the guys that coming from Mac Thomas, Head Honcho, Baby Honcho, of course Raymond. Then you got this other guy, which was Mad Dog, who ran. All them came off of San Pedro. Add Mad Dog, Nose, PP, Black Johnny. Well, Black Johnny was Compton, but when it started, but Johnny Ray is what I'm trying to say. And then of course Frog. But all these guys would meet in these places and they would function as one. They wouldn't let a street or a name per se get in the way of, because they all knew first name Compton or first name Watts or first name LA, last name Crip. They all understood that. So there's nothing to squabble about. If you understand that at the end of the day, everybody's last name is Crip, what's the problem?
Okay. So I'm going to take it back a little bit, rewind a little bit.
Take it back.
You graduated from high school?
I did.
Okay. And what'd you do after high school?
Went to college.
Okay. How long did you go to college for?
Not long.
Oh, okay.
Cocaine came out.
Oh, okay.
Cocaine came out. Cocaine hit around. I graduated in 77 from high school. 78, I went and attained a job, got a job like really quick, working for National Fire Hose. 79, I stopped working and I said, I'm gonna go back to school. So I started going to school. 79, 70. But the whole time I'm going to school and even working during that time, so there was times where you was what I would like to say, there was times when you was full-fledged gang member, gang banger, whatever. Then there was times you was off season because you knew that this doesn't sustain life. So that's why I say when I talked about you wind up in a deficit. See, because if I had took care of everything in my 20s, I would have been set by the time. Now, what I should have took care of in my 20s, now I'm finding myself in my 40s taking it because I wasted my time on the gangbang aspects or following that curriculum or being part of that, what we know as the gangbang.
Okay, so you have some jobs, and you mentioned cocaine came into things?
By 80, 81, cocaine dropped, like a megaton of it, right in the city, right in the middle of the city, you know.
Okay.
Thanks to the government. Thank you, government.
Right. I just interviewed Chico Brown.
Uh-huh.
And we talked about that a little bit, about the government being
Chico is my
involved
guy.
You know, yeah, good dude, man.
Shout out to Chico.
Shout out Chico, man. The drugs come in and it starts to get real heavy, I take it?
Yeah, that's the paradigm. That's the paradigm shift. That's the every 10 years something occurs.
Okay.
In the United States. 78, 79 is when we lost Raymond, we lost Mac Thomas, we lost Ricky Silas, we lost Tookie basically, because Tookie never saw outside of prison after 79 because he was eventually put on death row and put to death, right? So you lost a lot of different people that was part of that structure or that part of that pushed the machine forward, right? So if you lose that, now you drop a metric ton of cocaine in the city, and on top of that, now you ramp up the prison industrial complex because you're gonna need somewhere to put all these people when you start arresting them. So you let them have a little fun. You let them get a bunch of money because they don't know what to do with the money anyway. People putting money in shoe boxes, buying 4 or 5 cars, putting money in refrigerators, cabinets, whatever you can put money at. Nobody's thinking that to go to a financial institute or getting a bank account over a Swiss account, a Cayman's account. Nobody's thinking on them levels. So they know it. When they get ready, they can come back and take it all back and plus put you in jail. So the prison industrial complex is ramped up, right? Now you got all this cocaine. Now the guys that was in power, that had the leadership, they had the willpower, and they also had the heart. So you got to have all three. You can't be missing. If you're going to lead a bunch of people or be in power or trying to take people in a direction that you think they should go based on whatever this thing is, right? So now you got all these individuals. Now they all gone. Now you got this guy. He lived in the neighborhood, but he wasn't really a part of it. But now we accept him because he making all this money. But one thing he don't have, he know how to make money. He know how to use the money to divide everybody, make everybody go against him based on whatever he's thinking. But you know what he missing? He don't have no heart. He don't have no heart. Because you got to understand, the Raymonds, the Tookies, the Mac Thomases, they all had heart. Guy selling drugs, he just got money. And he's using his money to divide and conquer. He uses his money to get rid of him because he figured like he too tough. Or he uses his money to put him on the team, and that weakens his position based on money because this guy got all the money and he barely got none. So he give him money to keep him cool. Or he give you money to get rid of him. But he don't have no heart. Because if he had heart, he'd do everything himself. He wouldn't have you to do that. He'd just do it. Those are the guys that was left. Those are the guys that were snatched away. Those are the guys that was incarcerated for many years, 30, 40, 50 years, whatever it is. We got one guy, not movie star, but a light bulb, which is Suma, did 40 years. Marcellus did 31 years, you know. My homeboy Bebop did about 34, 35 years, you know. And that's not only just the Crips, that's the Bloods too. The guys that started those circumstances, look at the guy over there from the west side. Did what'd he do? 35, 40 years. I'm talking about Lorenzo Bennett, Bo.
Yeah, LB.
LB. 40.
Man.
So now the guys that's running these things, they running it based on money. They don't really have the heart to run it. And I'm not singling anybody out. It's just observable reality from my perspective. It is my opinion that both Crips and Blood started from mercurial mindsets. Mercurial meaning something that's unpredictable, something that's uncontrollable, and something that happened all of a sudden and has severe mood swings. If you think about who they are as a group or individual, most of them, have some type of cognitive dissonance, or they don't connect well upstairs, which causes them to, anytime you can move somebody, you can give somebody a sack of cocaine and they go do something to another individual based on that. There's a problem, because that's not worth it. They go to the graveyard, you go to the tomb. Either way, everybody's entombed. 30, 40, 50 years, your life is gone. So that's the deficit. Once again, we at a deficit. So now if you spend 30, 40 years incarcerated, you at a deficit, because now all your youth was wasted here. Now all you have is you're older, your bones are weak, you're not as strong as you was. Now you have to start all over. Find out how to do banking, find out how to finance a car, finance a home. You got to learn all that stuff that you should have learned at 20. But you got to starve your distractions and feed your focus, because you didn't learn that, or you ignored that, and you decided to deal with these distractions, or you was led by, once again, just because you see everybody doing something don't make it correct. So if you see everybody walking this way and then you just join them, you don't know why they're doing it, you just joined them. But you have to question. You got to inspect always what you expect. That's just the way I see things. I'm not telling nobody what to do. I'm just simply explaining it from my position and my opinion, what I think about it at this day and time. Had I done what I was supposed to do when my parents told me, man, I'd have been probably just really rich or well off. Based on my capacity, based on my ability to learn and my ability to figure things out. But now I got a case here, case there. Now these things are stopping me from getting to where I should have just normally walked to the door and got to. But based on this, what they like to call a felony. So let me ask you something. If I committed a felony and then you incarcerate me, right? And I serve that time, I get out, why is I'm still being punished? See, I get punished still.
Parole, probation.
Everything. Can't go get proper housing or,
Jobs. Yeah.
So to society, it's a trick. It's a trick. The government plays trick. The government is based on capitalism, right? In capitalism, somebody must win, somebody must lose, somebody must die, somebody must be sick. They get rid of the infirm. If you ill, you can't figure it, they figure out a way to get you up out of here. COVID, well, I ain't gonna get into that. I ain't gonna go down that one, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
We lost a lot of people during that time. This stuff is deep, Cam. It's really deep. I know people look at it in different terms in the way I do. I'm being a deep thinker, being a person that believes in physics, science, mathematics, biology, chemistry. I look at it not only from a frontal, I turn it over, I look from the side, I look underneath, and I really want to understand why are we in this circumstance, because what's behind the reality, the appearance is the reality. So something can appear one way, But when you pull a curtain back and look, oh, wait a minute, you know, that's
Yeah.
what our society is built on.
Yeah.
You got to go further than what's on the surface. I'm different, man. I like to figure out where the medium is and then understand what you want and what I need. You understand? And then we meet in the middle. I'm more or less, I guess, a negotiator or somebody that can sit down at the table and put some understanding on where it benefits all of us. You know, again, the lone wolf dies in the winter, the team survives all for a season. A lot of people believe that the tiger and the lion are more powerful, but I'm a firm believer. But you never seen a wolf perform in the circus. I bet you $1 to a donut. So you know where I'm going with that. So yeah, but anyway, the feds, 2001. I myself, my homeboy Gangster, it was initially they were on to him, and we got indicted. Me, my brother Gangster, my homie Pee Wee, my homie Don Juan, and other co-conspirators. Most of them, I don't know what they did. I just know that there was some people that wasn't right. I don't know who did what. All I know is that I took responsibility for whatever I did, because whatever I did it with my two hands. It had nothing to do with nobody else. And my homie Gangster did the same thing. My brother, every week we played it to foreseeable. So anyway, I guess I was indicted for running a pharmaceutical without a license. I had my own pharmaceutical company. I just didn't have a license.
Oh, okay. Street pharmacist. There you go.
There you go.
Okay. How'd they catch you?
That's interesting. That is very interesting, because I had to unravel a lot of stuff. But based on the timeline, that couple of individuals that my co-defendant dealt with, he divulged some information on my co-defendant, which led them to set up the surveillance and start monitoring and watching and set up cameras and surveillance teams. You know, when they would go to Vegas, super shows, the feds would be there. We'd be out to the Shaw, the feds would be there. So one day I come out the yard and I see a guy on the pole. I said, "Hey man, don't be up there cutting nobody's cable off." He said, "I ain't cutting cable off, I'm cutting cable on." So I don't think nothing of it. So we had this guy, I can't remember, it was Joe and another guy. I can't remember. Him and his woman used to come over to clean up the yard and all that stuff. So one day Joe pulls up. He said, "Hey, Mel." I said, "What's up?" He said, "Hey, man, I don't know if you know this or not, but look up there. It's a camera up there." I look. I said, "Man, I don't see no camera." He said, "Man, I'm telling you, it's a camera up there." I said, "Joe, get out of here." He said, "Man, listen, it's the last time you gonna see me, but you take care, but I ain't coming over here no more." I'm thinking like, man, come on, Joe, you playing, right? He said, "Nah, I don't need nothing." This is what he tell me, right? Sure enough, he leave. True to what Joe's words was, it was an actual camera up there. They had a picture of me, because we had like back in the garage on this side of the property and one on this side. I used to take something and stick it down between. Nobody could see where I was doing, or nobody could get in it. You know, you would have to know that it was there. They got a picture of me, like looking up like this here, because I would look up and try to see, you know, like, okay, nobody. But they got a picture of me, rolled it up like big as, like a poster. You know what I mean? And I'm thinking like, wow, where'd they get that from, you know? It either had to be a drone or a satellite picture. It was just, you know, I was just like kind of amazed at some of the technology they use. They actually stated in the paper they used technology to get us that they had been like working on to advance to help them build a case or get what they call is when they collecting all this evidence or something to actually take you to trial. So, but we saw everything, and man, once we saw it, we automatically knew we couldn't go to trial. It just wasn't, Just was a started, They had what they had. And one of the guys that actually got me, there was a car lot, and people probably remember this car lot. It was on Long Beach Boulevard, across the street from the gas company. And the guy that owned that, I actually sold to him twice, thinking that what was peculiar about it, and I'm not going to get that guy's name up because I don't know whether he had anything to do with it, but he was with that guy. And everybody knows this guy. But anyway, it's not a here and there. I'm not mad. I don't care. I'm out here moving, living my life and having a great time doing it. Being a content creator and meeting people like Cam and hanging out with the Bride Dogs. So, but anyway, yeah, that guy, he's the one that got me.
And how much time did they end up giving you for this?
They gave me originally 151 months. I got it chopped down after some laws changed to 10. And I filed a writ, a habeas corpus against some property I had. Some jewelry and stuff and some money. And actually I won. They returned it. I was surprised. I was really surprised. But the whole time when I was in there, it was a friend of mine. He was from Las Vegas. His name was Alfonso Mason. And he got me going to the law library. And I really like going to the law library, reading Federal Second Thirds, the Keys, and American Jurisprudence, Black Dictionary, because you got to be able to define the words that they're using, because they speak a different language in federal court. And they talk prima facie, cornovis, adita corellas, amicus brief, and they use these different words, and you don't know what the heck they're saying, And once you start trying to understand quid pro quo, that's when somebody, that's when you find out somebody gave them something in order to get you. They did a pro quo, But anyway, when you start learning what all this stuff means, you're able to put some meaning to it, and you can better understand exactly. But just like they use those books to lock you up, you can use those same books to get out. That's why they got keys on them. If you go look on the small print, you remember seeing them keys on them. But and the Nexus Lexus, which is a big help as well, is a computer system they put in there that file out the law review, the law reporter, all those things. So as humans, we make mistakes and they make mistakes. Just because they judges and federal prosecutors and FBIs don't mean they're not sloppy. They're very sloppy, very sloppy. You just got to be able to unravel their sloppiness and show them in their face, here, this is sloppy. It's no good. Take this back, So, but anyway, guys would try to get me to go to the iron pile, and my thinking was, hey, when I get out of jail, I can get me a gym membership outside. Right now, I need to get out of jail, so I stayed focused on getting out of jail. So I didn't really care about going to the iron pile and doing all that stuff. I was at Terminal Island, which is on the water. Got to see people every day. People would roll up on boats and wave at you. They even had tour boats that rode up, and the guy would say, "This is Federal Island Terminal. This is Federal Prison Terminal Island. The inmates allowed to participate in all sports except for pole vaulting and swimming." It was his joke. A lot of guys just, man, get out of here. Be throwing the fingers and stuff.
No swimming, huh?
No swimming. So yeah, so I learned a lot, man. Individuals was there. Gambino was there. Big Finger Don, not the Italian Big Finger Don. Philip Zangi, Walter Holt was an egregious tax dodger. He owed the government about $2 million, but he was holding on to $500 million. He didn't want to pay him. He wound up dying in prison. I think I just would have paid him and left. Guy named Morris, he had about 70, 80 million over in Indonesia. He owed the government about 10 million. He didn't want to pay. I used to trip off some of this. This guy named Ross, he was there. He was the letter bomb. He sent his people some bombs in the mail and blew them up. He was part of that or the Jewish Defense League, the JDL. They was all up there. And then you had Nick Rash, was an international bank robber. You had bank robbers there. all sorts of kind of people, but you had some very knowledgeable and experienced individuals. And one of my sellers, he used to read every newspaper. He read the New York Times, the Law Review, the Vanity Fair. He read the Los Angeles Times. He had newspapers. He read this stuff. He would read the Stock Exchange, all these different papers. I'm like, man, why is you reading all this? He said, man, this is where all the secrets at. This is where all the bodies and bones are buried at. You got to know what's going on. So I picked up that habit while there and started reading and just really enjoyed it. I became informed. I became aware. It expanded and broadened me mentally and spiritually, and it wasn't bad. Let me put it that way. They make you very comfortable. They give you mattresses about that thick in the feds and a big old nice thick pillow. They want you to be comfortable because they know you're going to be there for a while. So they got to make it comfortable for you. The food was decent. You got steak there too, and they would have crab and shrimp. And remember the ice cream socials? Warden to stand in the middle of the yard eating ice cream with federal prisoners. It was hilarious when I think about it. Then they had what was called a psychology department. And the psychologists, they had doctors there, and they would come out and talk to guys that couldn't do them 30s and 40s and convince them that they can do it. Yeah, you can do it. Just lay on the couch and take a couple of these and you'll be fine. That kind of stuff. And Clarence Hoover used to crack me up on it, man. He had all the people in psychology listening to him like he was a doctor. Funny guy. Tookie wrote about him in his book as well. Clarence Hoover, good friend of mine. So, yeah, shout out to him.
I see somewhere that you also either knew or ran into Monster Kody a few times.
Monster Kody, actually, when he got into it with the 60 car, he came over there to visit my homeboy Mondo and Gangster. And, I didn't have no conversation with him, but whatever his business was with them. And just put it this way, whatever they did with him, he left there smiling. That's all I can say to that. But yeah, he reached out because he was in trouble. He was in trouble, and he was fighting some individuals that was well prepared. So he wanted to get prepared.
Did you run into him in jail at all?
No, never ran into him in jail.
Okay.
Never ran into him.
Oh, so
talked to him on the phone, you know what I mean, when we got out and all that stuff, but never got a chance to actually. That day, Kev Mack interviewed him. I should have been there, but that's the part about this stuff, man. Right when you think you're gonna be able to get somebody, they pass away. Something happened. Because you delay it or you pause or you prolong the interview or whatever happened. Sometimes things happen and you don't get that. And you regret that, like Big Rebo. Big Rebo was one of my guys, Kev Mack was able to get it, though, so that was cool,
Yeah, definitely.
Big Rebo was a good dude, man. He was one of those powerful, bigger-than-life figures, very strong, very forward-thinking type of person, so yeah.
All right, you get out of jail?
And out of jail, man.
Is this when you start to kind of turn your life around at this point?
Man, life was already turned around in jail.
Okay.
But get out.
What year is this that you get out?
2010.
Okay.
Totally shocked. It's been 10 years. Didn't realize things can change so much in 10 years. Didn't realize it.
That was a lot from 2001 to 2010.
So I wind up in Hollywood. I'm up there for a while because I was at over there on Huntington. No, Hamilton. Was it Hamilton? One of them streets over there. But it was just, but man, started doing things right. Just started building credit, doing everything, went back. Because I always had a trade, you know what I mean? I have never been in the life without a job. I've always had work. I always knew how to go get work. And I just came back and went back to truck driving. That's all, So it was simple for me. I mean, I know that I'm making it sound simple, but I know some guys have difficulty because they never had a job, or they never been in business or none of that. So so it'd be a little degree of difficulty for them. But I've always been able to, because that's what I saw my parents do. I saw my parents, they gave the best lessons. And I'm always go back to other words, what my father said or what my mother. There's always those jewels that they was dropping as a kid growing up. Man, I was like, man, Pops was right. Man, my mother was right,
Right.
You get all that,
And what do you have going on today?
Today, I'm just a content creator. I'm working on multiple projects. Most I can't really talk about because of who they involved. They're not ready to reveal. But yeah, y'all can get me. Y'all see that, the Hood Postman.
The Hood Postman. Get the shirt.
Why, so yeah.
YouTube channel, right?
YouTube channel.
YouTube
Follow
channel.
that. Go follow that. Like, subscribe, and share. Tap in. I'm there. I'm for you, the people.
Definitely, man.
Definitely.
Is there anything else you want to plug?
I got my partner Bright Dog. He's on the side. Urban Real, of course. Shout out to Kev Mac, KM Video. Shout out to Loco Vision. Shout out to Hey Rule. Shout out to Bam with the OG's perspective. Shout out to Crips, and of course my homie Gangster Frederick Stay. Shout out to his channel as well. So yeah, people, we are moving, man, and we got to be a part of this. We got to get together in New York, Texas, Tennessee, California, wherever we at, we got to get together. We got to get on code. Chicago, Illinois, yes, definitely. We got to get on code. Florida, it's like we ain't leaving nobody out. We want everybody to come in, and we need both men and women to be a part of this. With that being said, I am the Hood Postman, and you can follow me on the Hood Postman. One word. Matter of fact, go to hoodpostman.com. That's DAHOODPOSTMAN.com, and you can find me. I appreciate it. Thank you, Cam.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you.
Man, no doubt.
For sure.